Okay. Today we'll discuss these things. First one is what type of classes we have in Pega.
Shipper, sir,
Yeah.
there is no video.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, able to see my screen now.
Yeah, I'm able to. Thank you.
Okay. So what type of classes we have in Pega and what type of inheritances we have in Pega. So we have different layers in Pega. What are those? How to use these layers and what while saving the rule, how can we choose the enterprise class structure. So first thing is we need to remember is we'll see class types. So while saving the rule, so we have seen like while saving the rule, we also give me 1 second again. I need to restart the server. So while saving the rule, we need to mention the rule set where you want to save the rule. So that's what we have seen for every rule. You have to mention the rule set where you want to save the rule. It may be application rule set, it may be organization rule set. At the same time, you need to associate the rule to some class. You need to associate the rule to some class. So you need to give two things. When you're creating a rule, you need to mention the class name and you need to mention the rule set name. In the last couple of sessions we discussed about rule sets. Now we're discussing about classes. So there are two types of classes basically. One is concrete class, one is abstract class. We have two types of classes in Pega, concrete class and abstract class. What is the difference between these two? Let's see. So abstract class means you can go for abstract class if you want to create a pure data model. When I say pure data model, it contains only properties. A class will be there anyway, and in the class you want to create only properties or attributes, you can say. No other rules will be there. If that kind of requirement is there, you can go for abstract class, and there is one more requirement is if there is no part of inheritance inside that. So we'll come to that point anyway. So and one more thing is abstract classes cannot be instantiated. That means that we cannot create the objects for the, so that is generic. I mean, these are the generic statements only. I mean, in any technology you can find the differences are same. So for abstract class, we cannot, or instances cannot be created. That means that we cannot create the objects. We cannot create the objects for the abstract class. So when we cannot create the objects, then how can we use these properties? That is where the inheritance come into picture. We are saying we cannot create the instances, then if we cannot create the instances, then how can we use the properties that are there here? So that is where inheritance come into picture. And then, so because instances cannot be created, so there is no meaning of connecting to database. So it cannot connect to database DB. So because there is no need of storing the objects into database, because we are not here, we cannot create the instances. There is no meaning of connecting to database. That is why it cannot connect to DB. So coming here, if we want to create a class which can be instantiated choose the class type as concrete. So if you want instance or if you want to create an object for a class, then go for concrete class. Here you can create any number of classes, any type of classes in the concrete classes. So here I am saying pure data model. So no other property should be there. Only data model should be there, and our system accepts any number of any type of rule. But here we cannot create the instance of that class. But here it can be instantiated, and if the type of the if something is instantiated, if you see that, then go for concrete class. So 99% people will choose the concrete class only base classes. So only base classes will be of type abstract classes. And then because it can be instantiated, we can connect to database. It can connect to DB. So we can store these objects. Whatever the objects we are saying, whatever the objects we are going to create, that can be stored in the database. So we will see now what are in the system, how these things can be done. So creating classes is very simple in Pega. So any doubts here? So these are generic differences between abstract class and concrete classes. It may be any technology that the differences are same. So in Java we can, each type of pure Java we can say Java beans will be there in Java, like where we condense only getters and setters methods. So here also this kind of abstract class will contain only attributes only. It won't contain any other things. It cannot be instantiated. That is where, so we need to extend that one. So if you want to extend that one, we need to go for inheritance. That we will get to know. Anyway, let's understand that inheritance. So here abstract class cannot be instantiated. We need to extend that one. Definitely we need to extend. So concrete class also can be inherited. There is no meaning. So if you want to inherit other concrete class, you can also inherit. But abstract class must be inherited. Here we are saying must be. Here it can be inherited. So without inheritance, you cannot use the abstract class. Abstract class property, because we cannot create the object for that. So that is where inheritance come into picture. So in Pega we have two types of inheritances. One is pattern inheritance. Another one is directed inheritance. Directed inheritance. So what is a pattern inheritance? So pattern inheritance it defines the name of the class. It defines the meaning of this one. It defines the name of the class. That means that while defining the name itself, while creating the class name itself, we need to follow the pattern inheritance. That means that based on the class name only, I can get to know what are the parent classes for that class. What are the parent classes for that class? Let's say, I'll take a simple example. Already some class is there, ABC class is there. Now, so now ABC class is already present. Now I want to create DEF class. Okay, ABC class is already present. DEF class is inheriting from ABC. So that is my requirement. I want to inherit ABC class using pattern. So as a definition, it defines the name of the class. That means while creating the class name itself, you need to follow the pattern. So if you want to inherit ABC by pattern inheritance, you need to mention the ABC class name before the DEF. So that means that the complete class name will be like this: ABC hyphen DEF. The hyphen indicates the inheritance. So this is the complete class name. By seeing the class name, I can say that ABC is the one of the parent classes for the DEF. So while creating the class name itself, if you want to follow the inheritance, if you want to inherit anything by pattern, so you can go for, you need to give the, you need to mention the class name like this. So you need to mention the parent class before the current class name. So my class name is DEF, but you need to give the class ID will be like this. There may be a name, this description, but the ID will be like this. The class ID, so in the class ID you can see hyphens will be there. So whatever is coming before the hyphen, those will become the parent classes for that class. Let's take the complete structure. Let's say again I want to create one more GHI class. Now GHI class want to inherit from the DEF. GHI class want to inherit from the DEF. So that means that already DEF class ID is this one. So I need to mention ABC hyphen DEF hyphen GHI. Hyphen GHI. So that means that I want to inherit DEF. So DEF is already inheriting ABC. That means that for GHI, so by seeing the class name, by seeing this class name, I can say that ABC DEF is one parent class and ABC is one parent class. By seeing the class name itself, I can say what are the parent classes for the class. Okay, this is the pattern inheritance. While defining the class name itself, you need to follow the inheritance. You need to mention the class name by using a hyphen. So we start with the first hyphen, and the loop will execute until you get the last hyphen. So this is the first hyphen is here. So here this will start. ABCDF is the first parent class, and it will continue until you get last hyphen. Here this is the last hyphen. So ABC is the now the parent class. So for GHI, I have ABC, DEF, and ABC. Okay. That is the pattern inheritance. Well, giving the name itself, you need to follow the inheritance. Now we have one more inheritance, directed. If you want to specify if you want to specify, or if you want to inherit, you can say from any other class, you need to mention that class in directed path. So that means that, let's say, so if you need to, so here I will create in the class name itself, I want to inherit DHI from ABCDF. Let's say GHI also want to inherit from XYZ. GHI also want to inherit XYZ. So I cannot, already DHA decided it needs to inherit from the DEF. So DEF already I have given in the pattern. So I cannot give XYZ again in the pattern. Pattern is over. So if you want to inherit any other classes, at that time you need to mention this XYZ class in the directory inheritance path. So in the class form, while creating the class, there will be some field will be there to mention directory inheritance class. So there I will mention XYZ is a directed class, directory inheritance class for GHI. That means that, so it can also use XYZ. So the parent classes for GHI is ABC, DEF, ABC, and then XYZ. So here we need to specify this class, we need to specify explicitly, but other classes will automatically, system will get to know. And again here also the director also again follow the pattern. Let's say if it is inheriting from XYZ, PQR XYZ. So here if you give PQ, so the PQR XYZ is the first inheritance class. Again it is following the pattern. That means that PQR is also there again. PQR is also there. So PQR XYZ is following the pattern inheritance. So PQR will be the one of the parent classes for PQR XYZ. That means that GH is inheriting from all these 5 classes. So for AB up to ABC it is a following pattern. So BQR XYZ is following both, actually is following the pattern as well as the directed. So pattern wise you are saying PQR is one of the pattern class for PQR XYZ, and PQR XYZ is a directed class. So we need to specify this PQR XYZ class in the directed path. So if we want to specify any external class as the one of the parent class, you need to mention that in the directed inheritance path. Directed inheritance path. So any doubts here for theory wise? Now I will show you how can we ensure that system is behaving the same way. So let's go here. So before going there anyway, let me discuss layers. So let's translate to classes only. Layers. So this is enterprise class structure we call it. So we have different types of layers in Pega. So when I say layer, it's not different. It's just like each layer is corresponding to one class. So first let me take out the layer names. First one is application layer. Application work layer. Application or data layer. Application integration layer. The same way organization layer, organization integration layer, organization data layer. So in the organization we don't have work layer because we are doing work only for the application. We don't do work organization. So let's take an example. My application name, if the application name is, let's say, Climb. The organization name is something like Satyam, let's say. So I am creating an Climb application, Pega application for the Satyam company. So in that case, what happens? System will automatically create these layers. So the layer is nothing but a class structure, is pointing to some class. So while application layer will point to this class, client Satyam hyphen client. Let me write all the things, then you will get to know. This is work. This is data layer. This is integration layer. And here this is organization layer, and this is organization integration layer, and this is organization data layer. So if you see, these are just the class names. The layer is nothing but a class structure. The layer is nothing but a class structure. So the system will create, if you give the organization name this one, and if you give the application name this one, system will create the structure like this. And the application layer, you can see this is the organization layer and this is application layer. So the structure is also prepared like that. So because this is my organization application name is climb, but I want to use the rules from the organization layer, right? So that is why Satyam is given here in the front. So Satyam is actually organization layer. That means that this class can inherit, the climb class can inherit, the application can inherit from the organization rules. So if yesterday if you have seen, like in one organization there may be any number of applications, right? So let me create one more application. So for this application we are using this one. So let me say one more application I am creating. It's for the same organization. Let's say HR application. HR. Okay, now the syntax will change like this. The structure will change like this. Satyam will be same because it won't change HR. So there, this is work. This is a data. This is a int layer. This is organization layer. Organization int, it won't change because organization is same. So conceptually we are saying, so if you create two applications for the same organization, the system can use the rules from the organization. That is conceptual. But technically, how system is achieving that one? By using the concept of inheritance. So we have a different layers for each and every application. So if you save the rules in the organization, so that means that you can use whatever the application you are going to create, that can use it. How it can use it? Because the system is creating this inheritance. So if you see here, in each and every part, Satyam is one of the parent classes. Satyam is one of the parent classes, which is a organization rule set. Organization layer. So that is why if you save any rules in this class, organization layer, any application can use it because the class name is same. So Satyam is one of the parent classes for all these application related classes. So here if you see, the climb is application name, Satyam is organization name. So it is inheriting from the organization name. That means that the climb application can use all the property, all the rules from the organization rule set. Here also same. The work layer. So where did we go for work layer is, so we have three layers. Basically this is defined for different purposes. So layer is nothing but a class structure, point to one class only. It's not like different thing. So a class is nothing but a structure, a class layer. So then earlier in Pegasus 5 6.1 and Pega 5 we don't have this layer concept. So because after all a class, so we can name it in other way as well. But by default, whenever you create a new application in Pega 7, these layers will be automatically created. You don't need to manually create it. So just to follow the design pattern, let's say if you're building a web application, we follow MVC architecture. So if you don't follow any structure, so that system will stop you. System won't stop you to create any application without following any structure. So why we follow the patterns or something to make it more manageable. So if you follow the pattern, it may be easy to manage the application, to manage the project. So here also, to manage the application easier, so system is creating 3 layers. Work layer will point to work class will be created under the application. So whatever the rules you have created in the application, the rules can be used by work layer. So because class and climb is the one of the parent classes. So you need to use the work layer to create the rules which are useful. Actually, let's say during you are creating one application. In that application, you want to do some processing. So what type of rules are required for work processing? To progress your work, what type of rules are required? You can save those rules in the work layer. You can save those rules in the work layer. That is only for work processing. For the application work processing, whatever the rules you require, you can save them in the work layer. So whatever the classes you are creating, data classes or data model. If you want to create a data model, you need to create a data classes in the data layer. So data layer is meant for just for classes, data classes which we use again in the work layer. So data classes are reusable. So you can use the same data class. You can use the same data class across multiple work classes. Across multiple work classes, that is the reusability. So if you create the data class, one class, let's say here customer class is there. Okay. So else, let's say some address class is there in the data layer. You have to take some address class in the data layer. So when you create address class in the data layer, that means that in the work layer I have a number of I'm doing multiple works. Let's say I'm doing climb as well. I'm doing one more like in the climb we will be having. In the same application we'll be having climbs. Creating a climb will be there, or else delivery of once the climb is resolved, delivery of that one will be there. So we can use the same class while creating the climb. If I want to capture the customer address, there also I can use this proper. I can create an object for that in the work layer, and I can use that. And that in the delivery of the product, whatever you climb, if it is defective, so to do that one also, I need the address. So I can at that time also I can use. That means that in multiple work classes, I can use the same data class. That is reusable. Data classes are reusable across multiple work classes. And then Satyam client. So layer. This is when integration rules. If you are creating any integration rules, you need to associate those rules you need to save those rules into this class. So we are creating any rule. Plus 2 things, as I said. One is rule set. Already we discussed the rule set. Which one you need to select, and you need to choose the class name as well, where you want to save this rule or associate this rule. So based on the nature of that rule, if the rule is for only just for work processing, you can go for work layer. If it is for integration related stuff, we can go. We need to find integration rules, integration class, and then put the data layer. You need to save the rule in the data layer. And then this is the application layers. And the same way for organization also we have 3 layers. Here the only layer missing layer here is work layer. So we don't do any work in the organization layer. That is why system won't create that. But if you want to create that, the system won't stop you, because that is after all a class. So you can also create a Satyam underscore work. System won't stop you, because that is just like a other classes, but that is not a best pattern, because system is by default creating this structure. So we need to follow the same structure. So if something is specific across organization, as I said, you need to save the rule in this class. So So let's say if you're saving the rule in this class, ideally you need to select the organization rule set only. Some people, what people will do is they save the rule in this organization layer class, but they choose the application rule set. Again, system, because a rule set, you can use any rule set and any class, system won't stop you, but as a developer you need to make sure that you are giving correct rule set on the correct correct layer based on the reusability of the rule. Okay. And then if the reusability is not there, you can say wherever you want, but when something is if something is you want to reuse again, so in order to eliminate the duplication, so you need to with some care you need to create the rules. So here also integration layer of the organization. So for the organization level, if you are creating any integration points or integration rules, you can select the integration class. And for the same in the organization level, if you want to create some class, like customer is common across all organizations, sorry, across all applications. In that case, you can create that in the here Satyam data address, and then it can be reusable across multiple applications. So here also same thing. So if you see here, everything is same except the application classes. So by here if following the path is following the inheritance basically. So climb is inheriting from the Satyam, work is inheriting from the Satyam, climb and Satyam. That means that work class is inheriting from the application layer as well as the organization layer. So data layer is also same, the integration is also layer is same. So that is how the layers and inheritance is clubbed. So any doubts here?
Subhash, Venkat here.
Yeah.
Subhash, so when the division layer will come into the picture?
So here also we're creating the application, generally division unit layer will be there. So division and unit very rarely used if your application is very big. Enterprise level means if application is very big. So if you want to, I'll take an example again. My application name is ICICI, let's say. Sorry, organization name is ICICI. And then inside that I'm building some loan application. Okay. My app name is loan application. And then, so it depends on the how you are dividing the ICICI. Let's say I want to create the loan application, but the division and unit is not based on the application, it's based on the how you are dividing your organization. So let's say if I can divide the organization based on the geographical regions if you want, or else I can divide the organization based on the functionalities they are doing. So it depends on the strategy the company is following. So if the line of businesses are very less, let's say some companies are just doing two functionalities. One is booking, one is revenue booking, one is payment system. So the functionalities are just two. So for them, so dividing the organization by the line of business, so it is easier. Because they are just doing two functionality, they are not doing much. But ICICI is a big company and they are doing a lot of functionalities. And if you divide the organization based on the functionalities, you will end up with a lot of divisions. So that is not the best practice here. So I mean every company will follow their strategy based on what they are dividing the organization. So let's say here organization is a geographical company, they want to they are dividing the company based on the geographical regions. Let's say so there are different geographical regions like APAC, Eastern. So different regions will be there. They're dividing based on that. Eastern or Western, let's say. So like that they are dividing the organization is divisions. So now what happens is when you create the application loan, so loan, again This is the division name. So I'm dividing the organization based on these regions. Again, in each regions, I will be having sub-regions, which is nothing but units. So this is a division. These are the divisions. And APAC Eastern region is the divisions. I'm dividing the organization based on these regions. And then in each division, I will be having units. So we call them as a sub-regions we will be having. So we call them as a units. So whatever your divided organization, those will become division. Again we have a regions, again we have a sub-region. Sub-regions will become the units technically in the system. So units are in the APAC we will be having India, and maybe all the comes in the Pakistan also come under APAC. So like the Eastern, so Eastern US will come one of the country in the unit. So or else you can go by like this in the unit, or else so it's again dependent on the strategy of the company. So if you want to divide the instead of sub-regions, you can go by functionalities here. Because I'm creating loan application, so you can go by unit is a loan, and within the loan again you can go for, so here it may be a personal loan. Let's say this is a personal loan application. A unit may be a loan. A unit may be a what we call let's say mutual funds. The unit may be a credit cards. So if you define the, if you divide the organization name, the organization like this, the divisions and the units, the complete class structure will be like this. First one is ICICI organization, and then the division, like I'm saying for one division, APAC, and then the unit, loan, and then in which unit you are creating this organization. This is important. So I am creating this personal loan for the loan unit. So you need to give, that will come here, and then the structure will start. Personal loan. Personal loan. This will now it will, the structure will be like this. So when you go for division on the unit, it will be before here we are not following division. This is the basic structure we are following when the division is not required. So basically that is what I mean, 99% of the times, or at least 90%. So if it is a very big company and if you're following divisions, you can go by like this. So you can create the divisions, you can create separate layers for the divisions on the units. So if you select the separate layers for division units, the complete structure will be like this. So these are the extra layers. Division on the unit is the extra layers here, but if you see here, company name, organization name, and then the application name, here it is coming extra. Okay, these are called division on the unit. So generally this division on the unit, this based on the strategy of the organization. So how they want to divide the, how they want to organize the organization or a company. So some companies will follow the based on the regions, some company based on the line of businesses, some companies will do some other way. So based on that, you need to, the system will create the layers. So if you see now ICICI organization name and APAC up to APAC is the division. So now it will different layers will be organization, division layer, unit layer, and then again the unit you may be having sub-units as well. So there is no ending for the structure. So you can go for any level, infinite level you can go, but that depends on the organization level, how big it is. And then application. So within the units again you may be having sub-units. Sub-units are also possible. So here in this class structure, ICICI is the organization layer and ICICI-APAC is the division layer, and ICICI loan is the unit layer, and application layer is complete one. So for the different region, for the eastern region, the structure will be different. For the western region, structure will be different. And in each division, the units will be same again. So in the APAC loan, mutual funds, credit cards will be there. The eastern is also you will be having same units. The western also will be having same units. Right here I am creating personal loan application only for the loan unit. Okay, and that is only for ASEAN, APAC. So if some functionalities are specific, generally if the application is common for all the regions, right? For all the regions, then we don't have to specify the division and unit. We can directly create the you can create the rules. You can directly create. You can omit the division and unit layers, and you can directly go to application layer, like without the unit and division. So if you want to create separate applications for separate divisions units, these layers will be created. So anyway, I will show you in the system how system will create the layers. So any doubts here?
No, Subhash.
Yeah. So now, while creating the application, generally system will ask for, do you want to create the division and unit layers? System will ask you for that. So before that, let me create the class. So this is my existing classes. So existing application is there, existing is there. Let's see here. So you can see this is my existing, one of the existing class for existing application. So here for this class, demo APP, demo is my organization name basically. So demo is my organization name, application name is demo APPL. So that is why you can see demo and then organization layer, application layer, and then work layer. Different layers are created. So let's say, let me go to here. Let me go to organization layer. Here you can see different layers, all the layers. You can see this is the top level class. This is organization layer, right? And then you can see organization data class, organization data layer. So this is application layer. So within the organization we have application only, right? That is why this is naming as demo APPL namespace, nothing but application layer. And then if we have a frameworks, so again we'll discuss that frameworks. So framework layer also is there in this level. And then organization integration layer. Organization integration layer. So for this I am creating framework. Framework is there, layer also come into picture. I will discuss about framework layer again while discussing about while creating the application. So this is the application layer. So when you expand the application layer, you can see different 3 layers again. You can see implementation data layer. So we call it as implementation application. So we have 2 types of application, framework application and implementation application. So for now, forget about what is framework, what is implementation. So this is just like a application. This is a application data class, application integration layer, work layer. You can see 3 layers are there again. So while saving the rule, I will tell you how to create the class as well. So let's say I'm creating one property rule now. While creating any rule, it will ask for the class name. So in which class you want to associate. Maybe I'm just showing for a property class, but you need to, it is applicable for each and every rule. Now see, apply to will ask for the class name. You can see, just click down and it will display all the classes. Now you need to select which class you want to associate. You can see work layer is there. In work class you have demo 2 classes are there. In the data layer you can see a lot of classes are there. Which layer you want to keep it? Do you want to keep it in work layer, or do you want to one of the subclass in the work layer? So where you want to keep it. So you need to select the rule and then you need to select the rule set. Application rule set, application integration rule set, and organization rule set if you have. Okay, like that you need to select the rule sets. Okay, you need to give both. While creating any rule, you need to specify 2 things: application, rule set, as well as the class name, and this is applicable for each and every rule. So if you want to create a new rule, let's go to data class. I want to create some data class in the data layer. So let's here some people what they will do is they will directly create the data classes. The nature of the class is data, but they are creating in the work layer. System will accept it. System don't know whether it's a data layer, whether data class, or whether it's a work class, because just like after a class for the system. The system perspective, everything is a class. As a developer, so you should think about what type of class it is. So in the Java, everything is a class only. controllers are also a class. Java Beans is also a Java class only, and I mean what we call servers is also Java class. So everything is a class for the system in the Java application. But we are deciding as we are following some pattern. So controllers means you need to handle request and response scenarios, and what is a model. Java Beans it just contains the getters and setters methods. We are defining like that, but everything is a Java class there. Here also everything is a class only, but you need to decide what type of class it is, for which purpose I am using it. Based on that, you need to choose the layer. If the purpose of the class is just for holding the data, you can go for data layer. So create a data class. You can go for data layer. Let's say there also you can create data. You can see this is the application data layer. So let me create one class here. So if you want to create a class, click on the data layer. So classes will be under technical categories. As I said, each rule will be under some category name. You need to remember the category names based on the practice. You can automatically remember. So in the technical category, in the sysadmin category, the class will be there. Go to sysadmin category and then class rule will be there. Class. Now, as I said, while giving the class name itself, you need to follow the pattern. You need to follow the pattern. Let's say here you can see by default this is the parent class is populated, because I'm in the context of data layer already. That is why the parent class is already populated. The parent class is already populated. If I remove it, and if I just give ABC, what it means? If I just give ABC, that means that is a base class. It is not inheriting anything. If anything is not inheriting from any class, it will become one of the base class. You can see, if I give like this is a base class. It's not inheriting anything. But if you want to inherit, from any other classes through pattern, so while creating the class name itself, you need to follow the pattern. Let's say I want to inherit from the data layer. So you can see data layer. Under then I need to give ABC. I need to give ABC here. Demo apple data hyphen ABC. Now ABC is inheriting all these classes. So this is the, while giving the class name itself, you need to follow the pattern. This is called pattern inheritance. System, we don't need to specify anywhere other than while creating the class name. System will understand. System is designed in such a way that system can understand the parent classes by seeing the class name. So create and open. Again, you can see rule set is coming. For the class name, we need to specify the class name, because it itself is a class. We don't specify the class name. So here you can see the ID of the class is this one, and the rule set is there, and what type of classes we are creating. So creating is very simple. So what type of classes we are creating? It's just like a abstract and concrete. So I am creating abstract class or creating concrete class. So I am going for. So if you see, when you select abstract class, you can see only 3 options are coming: settings and version. So in which version of the rule set we are using? So I am using 02, let's say, and you can see class inheritance. You can see parent class directed. So this is the directed inheritance path. This is what I am referring in the directed inheritance path. You need to specify any other class if you want to inherit. But you can see here it is giving me, by default it is giving me in the directed path the immediate pattern parent class. This is the immediate pattern parent class, because system won't accept any empty space here. You need to give one class in the directed. You need to give one class in the directed. If you don't give anything, and if you try to save it, system will throw an error. You can see system giving an error. It is required basically. So at least one class is required in the directed. If you don't want to inherit from any external classes, you can give the immediate pattern class as the in the directed path. But if you want to specify some other class, let's say I'm here, I want to give here some, let's say work hyphen lay or hyphen, let's say customer class I want to inherit. Okay, so demo I want to inherit from the customer class. So this is the ABC class. This ABC class want to inherit from the customer class. So customer class is not part of the pattern, right? So I'm giving customer class. So for the abstract class, you can see only 3 options are coming: class type, return version, and then inheritance. I mean return inheritance. But when you make it as a concrete, you can see some more extra options will be coming. If you observe clearly, when you click abstract, only 3 sections are coming. When you go for abstract, concrete, you can see some more options are coming, because for concrete classes we need to define the what we call, we have to define the table of what we call database structure, right? So database connection. So here also it will come. So because we can create instances for the concrete classes, we need the keys to identify the instance. Let's say I have 10 instances. Out of 10 instances, I need one key at least. I need a key to identify a particular instance. For the concrete classes, better to specify the keys by which you identify the instance or object of the class. So for the abstract class, we don't require that one, because there is no meaning of creating keys for the abstract class, because it cannot be instantiated. That is why system is not asking for the keys. But when it is going for concrete, system is asking for the keys because it needs to be identified. Because we can get number of objects for the concrete class. Out of number of objects, I need to identify one object. So based on some key values. So what are those key values you are using to identify the objects? So here you need to mention, like, let's say I was using some out of the box one. So you can see it's automatically coming customer properties as well as one of the keys, because customer is the directed path. So you can use the properties from the customer class as well. Just I am using PYID as one of the class. And then this is same, class inheritance is same, and you can see test connection. Test connection is like to which database table it is pointing to. To which database table it is pointing to, you can see that. And then we need to give description of uses. This is required for a class. Why you are using it? ABC class for demo. So, and then you can see this class. This class is here. You can see 3 options are there, and this class is useful only for the work layers. So you have 3 options here. So this class is a class group, does not belong to a class group, belongs to a class group. So other than the work classes, you need to select this one. Other than the work classes, you need to select. For the work classes, you can select whichever you want, but other than the work layer classes, you need to select only second option. Even if you select first and third option, system will give a warning or error message. You can see now I'm selecting each class group and I'm saying to save it. You can see class group should be inherited from the work layer only. So that means that, so you need to select this class group and belongs to class group only for the work layer classes, not for the data layer classes. Okay, so what does it mean exactly? A class group, as a name indicates, grouping the class instances. Grouping the class instances, or in technical terminology, so saving all the instances of a class in a separate dedicated database table. Separate dedicated database table. When you make some class as a class group, system will create internally a separate database table will be created. That is only for work layer. So belongs to a class group. That means that all the instances of a class as well as all the instances of a class which belongs to the same class group will store in the same database table. Let's say I have 2 classes. ABC is a class group. I am saying DEF class. So ABC is a class group and DEF belongs to a class group of ABC. I am making ABC, let's say ABC is created in a work layer. ABC I am making a class group. That means that for ABC a separate database table will be created. So I am creating one more class like DEF and I am making, so DEF belongs to a class group of ABC. Here I am giving ABC here like this. Now what happens? All the instances of a ABC as well as all the instances of a DEF will be stored in the same database table. Same database table. So why we do like that is for reporting purpose. Retrieval, because for all the data is stored in a single database table, the retrieval will be faster. We don't require join conditions. So if based on the requirement, based on the reporting requirements, you need to select that one. So and moreover, it is applicable only for the work layers. We will see work layer as well. And for the other layers, you need to choose does not belongs to a class group only. Then only you can save it. Now let's save it. Now the rule will be saved. And then once you save it, and if you want to know to which database table these instances are going to save. So by default, all the data classes, all the data instances will be stored. So by default, all the instances of data classes will be stored in tier underscore other. This is the default table. This is the default table. So let's see that. I can use test connection. Separate database table is created for this. Let's make it, because we made that is a bug. So initially I made this one as a class group. System is creating basically internal separate database table. So let me create one more class, because initially I made it as a class group and then I save it. Internally, by the time system is creating the database table. Let me create one more class. Sysadmin class, and this time I am giving df. So you need to follow the pattern, df, and then demo rule set is fine, and then this is the concrete class. So only belongs to class group. PYID. Here I am inheriting ID is fine, and then here I am using customer. As the inheritance, and then give some history here, usage, save it, and version is required. Now if you check the test connection, a separate class is creating. No, should not go like that. For test 7, going to PR other. Okay. So what system is doing here is, I forgot one more concept here. So when you define the keys, system is creating the separate database table. So if you don't define the keys, let me now try it, but it is already mapped to df. Let me try one more class without keys. Sysadmin class, this time XYZ is one of the class, concrete class, 02 does not belongs to class group. So by default, let's say now test connection, you can see it's going for PR other. It's going for PR other. So by default, all the class instances will go to PR other. So if it specify any keys, so for this, for XY, for ABC, for GH, where is that? We just refresh it, App Explorer. You can see ABC will come. So for ABC class, I define some keys basically. I define some keys to identify the. So I define some keys, that is why system is creating separate database table for that. Separate database table for that. So if you want to see the inheritance of any class, if you want to see the inheritance of any class, just to ensure that, just right click on the class name and click on the inheritance. You can see inheritance option is coming. Click on the inheritance. Now see. So ABC is my class name, and you can see it is following the pattern. It is following the pattern. You can see data is one of the parent class, demo APPL one of the parent class, demo is the parent class. And you can see here all these are pattern classes. And you can see customer. Sorry. You can see here customer is also following the pattern class, because this is inheriting. I mean, we have given this in the directed path, but again this is following the pattern. This is following the pattern. That is why you can see demo Apple data, demo customer. So for this, maybe for the demo customer, let's say if you open this customer again is inheriting from the demo customer. So that is why you can see this one. So demo customer. That means that I am giving ABC. If you see the inheritance, I have just given customer as my directed path. But here again this class is inheriting from some other class. This class is inheriting from some other directed class. So that is why the class name is also coming. So it's showing all the parent classes for this ABC class. Now it can use base class is common. So base class will be there for each and every class, not only for, it's not related to layers. For each and every class, base class will be there. So it can inherit any rules from all these 8 classes. All these 8 classes. So this is the inheritance. So both means you cannot see the word like directed, because only if it is following. So everything will follow the pattern. At the same time, if it is both means it is following the pattern as well as directed. It is following the pattern as well as the directed. So in those cases you will get the both. You don't get the word like directed. You will get only 2 words, inheritance type, pattern or a both. For base class nothing is possible. So we are getting not applicable. So it is not following any inheritance. Just like for any class, or I mean for all the classes, base class will be the parent class. So that is why it's not come under inheritance. It is not applicable. Okay, like that you can see the inheritance. Let me see for some other class like DEF. For DEF, or let's say XYZ is there. For XYZ, you see inheritance, you can see just 3 classes are there. So I didn't mention any directed class here. So for XYZ, data is one parent class, APPL is one parent class, demo is one parent class, data is one parent class, and base class will be there anyway. So from these 6 classes it can inherit. These are the parent classes. Okay, like that you can see what are the different classes it is inheriting, and you can test the connection to know the database table. And then if you want to map to your database table, so this is Pega is creating, right? Pega is creating some database tables internally automatically. But if I want to create my own database tables, definitely, so there should be some way to create that we will see in some other lesson, how to create our own database table while saving the data. At the time we will see, already we are running out of time. So we'll see that one we'll say if you want to save the data into external database tables. At that time I will show you how we can map the class to external database tables. You can create your own table in the database, and then we can map that table to the corresponding class. That we can see. Okay. So any doubts here so far?
Where we could create the attributes, Subhash, for class?
So attributes is nothing but a properties, right? Let's say just create the property rule. So just let's say I want to create one property rule. Let's say in the ABC class. You can create, you can do multiple ways. Go to right click on the ABC and go to create, go to data model, create property. So automatically ABC will come in the applies to class, and you can just give, let's say, customer ID.
Oh, while creating the property, we have to select the class name. That means
Yes.
apply to
Yes.
the Pega.
Yes.
Okay. And suppose if so any inheritance is working runtime, which inheritance will call first?
So first is pattern inheritance only. First we'll check in the pattern. If it is not in the pattern, we'll go for directed.
Okay.
So pattern is the first.
Directed means without any dependency, we could use the
Yes.
classes. So for any class, right?
It can be any class. It can be any class.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. So we'll continue the class tomorrow. Tomorrow maybe we are starting creating a new application. So we'll at the time we'll discuss more about layer framework and implementation layers. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you for your time. And from tomorrow onwards, you need to start practicing. So far it is just like a theory part. We didn't discuss any practical. So going forward, we will be seeing practicals from tomorrow onwards. More of practical will be more of application creation, and we will be using rules. Okay. Thank you for your time, and see you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.